Good evening, my fellow Ham-Americans. Welcome to the 985 Workbench. I'm Chuck, and my call is NA3CW, tonight's host for the Workbench. I'm located in Parksburg, Pennsylvania. We meet every Monday at 8 p.m. on the W3GMS Parksburg repeater at 146.985 megahertz on your FM dial. The PL tone to access the repeater is 100 hertz. To those who have tone squelch on receive, lucky you, the repeater transmits a squelch tone of 94.8 hertz. Newcomers are very welcome. We encourage all stations to check in. Take a look at the repeater website located at www.W3GMSrepeater.com. It has lots of information, including technical articles, pictures of 985 users in action, and repeater etiquette and history. Please be aware that on occasion, the repeater experiences intermod interference. Please run maximum power or be prepared to check in digitally through Echolink or All-Star. We want to hear you. To be able to use Echolink or All-Star on 985, you need to register with us. Directions for doing so could be found on the website, W3GMSrepeater.com. Also, when intermod is present, before starting a long transmission, give a short call. Am I getting in okay? Once the host confirms that, then you can share your longer comments. Here on the Workbench, we focus on answering general questions of radio theory and operation. Additionally, we invite each station to briefly comment on your amateur radio activity in the past week. When checking in, please indicate if you have a question for the Workbench. If you don't have a question, still check in. After all stations have checked in, we will first share what we've done this past week using a roundtable format. Please write down the call of the station that checks in right after you. When you have finished your comments, turn the mic over to that station. Once we have all made our comments, and we will start question and answer portion of the Workbench operating as a directed net. I will call on a station that indicated having a question, and then for stations who wish to respond to that question. Wait to be recognized by net control, me, before beginning a transmission. This helps us handle the questions efficiently and keeps the net running smoothly. At times, it helps for two stations to pass the mic back and forth to help clarify the situation and pass information. Feel free to do that as needed, then pass it back to net control. Remember, don't be too quick to talk, because a couple of seconds before hitting the press to talk, pause a couple of seconds before hitting the press to talk switch. This is good repeater etiquette, and the pauses are especially helpful to those on All-Star and Echolink. When you do click the push to talk button, wait a second before talking. Click, wait, 2, 3, talk. We don't want to miss what you say at first. It takes a moment for the repeater to process your PL tone. Also, the repeater has a 3-minute timer. If you talk for more than 3 minutes without letting up on your mic button, the repeater completely shuts down until you release your push-to-talk switch. So every 2 to 3 minutes, release the mic button for just a moment, like this. Then you can continue. Before we begin, I want to say thanks to all of our Workbench hosts. They're the ones who make this happen. If you may be interested in hosting the Workbench, please contact Jim, AF3Z, or any of us, and we'll help you get started. Lastly, please join Bill, KC3OOK, Old Smoothie, this Thursday at 8 p.m. for the 985 Roundtable. At this time, we're going to start the check-in process. Remember to indicate if you have a question for the group. Digital stations using Echolink or All-Star, I will leave long pauses to make it easy for you to check in. Digital stations, please check in now, and everybody else, please be patient till I get back. This is NA3CW.
This is W1RC. Good evening. I have no questions.
Whiskey 8, Charlie Romeo Whiskey. No question.
Sounds like that's it. Good evening, Mike, W1RC in Marblehead, Mass, and CRW8CRW. So we'll now take RF or digital stations. Please call. Spread them out a bit. This is NA3CW.
Whiskey Alpha 3, Victor Echo Echo, WA3VEE.
Whiskey 3, Juliet Alpha Mike, W3JAM, with a query this evening. WA3 King Fox Tango, WA3 KFT, John. KC3YSM, Steve. Questions?
KC3SQI, no questions.
KC3OOK, no questions.
KD3AIS, Kilo Delta 3 Alpha India Sierra. This is Tim with a question.
Okay, that sounds like that's our list. So here they come, and please write down whoever follows you. W1RC goes to W8CRW, to WA3VEE, to W3JAM, to WA3KFT, to KC3YSM, to KC3SQI, to KC3OOK, and to KD3AIS. Do we have any other check-ins? Please call.
Whiskey Alpha 2, Juliet Tango Sierra, handles Bob.
Okay, I got WA2JTS. Anyone else? Okay, welcome aboard, Bob. And you're the tail gunner, so if nobody else checks in, you'll send it back to me after your comments. So, we'll now begin the roundtable session, starting with Mr. Mike. So how was your week in ham radio? W1RC. On the Workbench, this is NA3CW.
Monday Night Roundtable, this is W1RC. Well, I really haven't done much this week in ham radio as such. I guess I'm too busy working. My last week of work, I will be done on Saturday, 28th of June. So, kind of cleaning up from the last 13 months of working on this assignment. And once we're out of it, then there'll be plenty of time for ham radio and other fun things. So wish you guys a good time at Field Day coming up. And I'd like to be down there, but not this year, but who knows, maybe next. Over to CR, this is W1RC.
Thanks, Mr. Mike. And Chuck, thank you for taking the chair tonight and running the show. This week in ham radio, normal 985 activities, Red Rose, Saturday night Simplex net. But the big news is on Thursday with the storm, I lost my HF antenna and a bunch of tree branches. So with that, Ron, pick it up. WA3VEE, WHCRW.
Very good, CR. Thanks very much. WHCRW and the group WA3VEE. And good evening to everybody on the net tonight. And also thanks, Chuck, for being net control. Excellent. Preparations for field day here. Right now in front of me, I've got a laptop, and I want to thank and publicly acknowledge Scott, W3KZG. This laptop was destined for the dumpster, and he resuscitated it. It's a IBM ThinkPad, and it is working great. I have the SAT software running on it right now, and I will bring all this stuff up to the field day site, and we should have satellite communications. Just need working with Corbin to see if he can get there and actually operate. If not, I'll fumble through it. I'm not sure if Harvey's going to be able to make it. He's our expert on this stuff, but we'll see. But right now, that's the big thing. That, and I will be getting some other logistical things done. Took care of some paperwork today and got that through George and Joe. That's great. And so we'll be able to welcome visitors at the site. So if anybody wants to see what we're up to and has not had a chance to become involved, certainly on Saturday we'll be up there ready to fire the gun at 2 o'clock when we actually start operating on the field day itself. Tomorrow I hope to get on to QRZ and at least temporarily chase the Whiskey Rebellion guys off for about a week or so off W3R on that page and get our splash up there as well. So between that, and we did get an acknowledgement from another county commissioner. Stand by. They will not be able to make it, but are interested in future activities that we do. So that's two commissioners, one confirmed who will be there, Eric Rowe, and Marianne Moskowitz, who's not able to make it. She's going to be actually out of the country starting in a couple days over in Europe for a wedding. So anyway, all that's very good, and so it should be a tremendous, tremendous field day, even though it is blazing hot right now. Stand by. The temperature is predicted to moderate down to the low to mid-80s, which should be quite tolerable, especially if there's a lot less humidity. So let's see. It goes to Jeff, W3JAM, WA3VEE.
Okay, Ron, fine business. WA3VEE, W3JAM out here in sweltering Studio B this evening. But I'm already soaked, so I don't care, really. It feels good in front of the fan here. Just finished up with the quadrupeds for the night and getting ready to throw in the towel and head in, but I will stick around. I do have a query this evening, which I'll announce at the appropriate time. Well, my week in amateur radio, by the way, all that sounds very, very good, Ron, on field day, and I've been completely absent in any of that this year. With these horses here, with our guests, I've been, let's just say, come 8 o'clock, I'm down hard. Plus, I got sick, and that all the extra work really dragged me down. I haven't been quite right here for a month almost, and just trying to claw my way out of it. Very bad cold, and still recovering. So anyway, fine. As much activity as is possible when one has to come out in the Studio B in hot weather and operate. I do manage to check into the Simplex net on Saturday night and have continued to do that. Started checking in again on the roundtable. Now the choir is finished, which I very much enjoy doing. And Central PA Skywarn, I can hit that repeater in Dauphin County from out here. So very good, and have not made more progress on my off-center fed, working with the chief engineer on a minor sticking point, which I hope to get approved here soon, a variance or whatnot put into place to allow us to proceed with the OCF out here. But we'll see how that goes, and have not made any progress on my Centurion amplifier. what will be a pair of 3500Zs in grounded grid, but what at the moment is a pair of 400s and a missing transformer. And I do have the transformer, I just need to put it in. So from Hammond, Peter Dahl replacement. So anyway, John, over it comes to Delco, down to Aston she comes. WA3 KFT to take it, W3JAM.
JAM, WA3KFT. Okie-doke. Well, I've been off the air for a few days since we did not have electricity of any flavor for 3 days and an hour. And, ouch, really quiet around here. You know, no fans, no lights until I fired up the generator so I could keep the refrigerator going and the freezer going. So, but 3 days of feeding the generator, yikes. And that's the generator we're going to use for field day, or at least one of them anyway, so I know it works. So, oh my goodness sakes. And right along with everything else, the sewer backed up. So we were taking care of that today. So not too many radio activities, no electricity, and a backup sewer. Yikes. But the sewer is cleaned out, the power is on, so I can play radio again. KC3OOK, your turn, WA3KFT.
John, WA3KFT. This is KC3YSM, and I am glad your sewer is fixed because that's way worse than having the power out. Did not lose the power. I know, CR, I saw you on Friday, and you were telling me about the, I guess, the trees coming down and taking your wire down, so that's not good. But regular 985 nets for me. Some mobile, nothing too exciting. I really am interested in getting the shack hooked up with some battery backup. I think, Jeff, you were talking about the other day how you power went out. I think it was you, and you switched right over. And I'd like to be able to have that set up here. Just got to figure out how to do it. So. Anyhow, that's it. Guys, have a great field day. I'm not going to be able to be around this weekend, but I know it's a pretty exciting one. It's going to be very busy, and fortunately it's going to cool off a little bit, but not terribly much. But okay, KC3YSM. Wayne, I'm going to toss it over to you, KC3SQI.
Thank you very much, Steve. KC3YSM. This is KC3SQI. I had about 9 hours when my generator was doing a fantastic job of keeping the air conditioning on, keeping the refrigerators and freezers and lights on. So not as bad as some around here, but still a lot of trees down and a lot of garbage in the lawn and everything. So need to get back to putting the final touches on the mast. Made a trip to Homeless Depot and got some NOAA locks for the conduit. Got a couple more square U-bolts so that I can lock the base in a little bit tighter and a little bit more sturdy. And need to put the top two on and put an 8-foot piece of strut across the top. And hopefully I will have 200 foot of berry flex here this week, and that will then give me the ability to take the 2 meter down and throw it onto the top of the tower. So, getting there, but got a ways to go yet. So, I'll turn it over to Bill, KC3OOK. This is KC3SQI.
KC3SQI, KC3OOK. Thanks, Wayne and Chuck. Thanks for taking the chair tonight. It's good to hear everybody on here. It's a little warm. The Davis weather station is showing the inside temperature here in the shop as 97. And that's 2 degrees cooler than it was at this peak. So I'm out here just sweating away. That's what summer's about, I guess. But I actually had a fairly good week in radio this week. Did the Simplex net on Saturday night, and well, another story, but I used the beam and set up the 9700 on that. And a little difference being a net control with a beam, but it worked out relatively well. It was kind of fun. And here's some different stations. And then, of course, the 985 nets. I was over at Joe's today. We did a little more work on the tower before it got too hot. Probably the big thing for me is I've had a problem with my 9700 for a long while, that it's not putting out full power on FM or digital modes. And I had been messing with it for a long while, and I figured it out on Saturday. And what I found was I was looking for a single thing and replacing things one at a time, and it was 2 issues. Both the triplexer was bad, and the Diamond X510 radio was bad. So, been a long while messing with that, but I've come to the conclusion this radio works, puts out 100 watts on FM and digital now, as long as I'm on the beam, and I don't have the triplexer. So, with that, I'll turn it over to Tim in Malvern, KD3AIS, KC3OOK.
KC3OOK. Thank you, Bill. This is KD3AIS, Tim in Malvern. I was away from the house for this past week, so didn't do much other than yesterday observing KC3NZT Harvey's amazing battery backup system to allow him to keep using radio and other things that we talked about a little bit on the repeater today. I do have a question, and I will just give a heads up to Ron, WA3VEE, because I sent you an email with pictures for my question. I know that is violating our radio communications, but I think you sit at your desk and are able to view that in case I'm not able to accurately describe my question. So with that, I will turn it over to WA2JTS. This is KD3AIS.
KD3AIS, WA2JTS, and the handle's Bob. This is my first time on the net here, so don't be too rough on me. We are in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and known Joe for a long, long time. We used to work at the same company. But I do have a question. I didn't mention that when I signed in, but I'll throw it out there anyhow. We haven't had, we've been off HF for quite a while, and my 1 amp AL80, when I turn it on, it works, and I've been able to use it, but when I turn it on, the plate current meter pops up to 50, and sometimes it slowly backs down and goes down to 0. But then if I go in the air, it may stop at 50. So I don't know whether I got a bad meter that's got a dirty movement in there or something, but that's kind of strange. It worked fine. I've worked stations with it and get good reports, not any problem, but it has that little swirly thing happening that shouldn't be happening. So, I'll turn it over to Chuck, NA3CW. This is WA2JTS.
Very good, Bob. And again, welcome to the Workbench. And we love questions. Sticky meter, maybe. Yeah, welcome to the Workbench, and come back early and often. And we got the roundtable on Thursday night at 8, and love to hear from you anytime in the middle. Do we have any other, before we move into the questions, do we have any other check-ins for the 985 Workbench? Please call NA3CW.
AF3Z Mobile outside of Lancaster, and not much to report, but I am here for a while. AF3Z. A3LH.
Okay, two very good additions, AF3Z Mobile and Leon, AA3LH. So, Jim, how was your week in ham radio?
Pretty non-eventful. A little bit of CW and some 985 stuff. But it's been a long day, and I'm finally on my way home, out in the weather, and then taking pictures of Bible school. Leon, over to you, AF3Z.
AF3Z. Okay, well, thank you. This is AA3LH. Week in ham radio. I had a cough there. Too much air conditioning. Gotta have some excuse, right? AC feels good. What I did this past week, I was on the roundtable last Monday. Last Tuesday, I was on this radio. Wednesday, I wasn't. Thursday, I wanted to be on it, and the guys were telling me they can't hear me. Oh, that's strange. You can't hear me on this radio? So Friday, I decided I'm gonna tear it. Thursday night it was too dark to even go out and examine what happened. I know we had a heavy thunderstorm, so I wasn't sure my antenna wasn't hit by lightning. So I waited till Friday after breakfast to come home. Oh, the antenna looks okay, so we started checking feed line. Now understand, we had like 2 inches of rain in about 4 hours Thursday night, Thursday afternoon, or Wednesday or Thursday, whichever day it rained so badly. And I got water at the coax end, the outside end of the the PL end of the coax, say it is right, and I had water in my coax. So we took care of that, and everything appears to be working, and that was what we did. That's what I liked to report on that. And so if you heard me good, that's what the problem was. Not like last Thursday, I couldn't check in. It just didn't work. All right, that's all I have to report. It goes back to Chuck, NA3CW, AA3LH.
Oh, Leon, congratulations on finding the problem, and you're banging in full quieting, so you absolutely fixed it. And Jim, time to go home and chill. So we have 3 questions tonight, which is pretty good. So before I get to the questions, we encourage all stations to make comments, observations, or share experiences. Don't assume that your level of experience and knowledge isn't sufficient. We want to hear from you. We can all learn from each other and contribute to our discussion. So, feel free to pick up the mic, and it's time to stump the chumps. Jeff, you're on W3JAM. This is NA3CW.
Okay, very good, Chuck. I don't think I'll stump the chumps tonight. This is, at least I hope not. By the way, good evening to Bob, WA2JTS. Bob, I'm also in Pottstown. I heard you a while ago. If I'm not mistaken, I think you're off of Schoolhouse Road. I'm on Ellis Woods Road, just past the township building, halfway up the hill, just past that is, or halfway down the hill, depending on perspective. Anyway, very good to all. And my question is kind of related to the amplifier that I did pick up. Joe had alerted me to this. It was part of that Westchester estate disposition.
and it's a Ten-Tech Centurion. I've never owned, I mean, obviously I'm very familiar with Ten-Tech and a lot of their product line, but I never owned any Ten-Tech equipment in my amateur radio career. Just never have. So this Centurion amplifier is the first. And it was modified slightly in the sense that the OM had an outboard power supply transformer. I think just transformer, but I don't know. Maybe the entire high voltage, plate voltage, B plus filtering and rectification. I don't know, but I assume it was just an outboard transformer that he then connected back into the amplifier. Anyway, I got the amplifier sans transformer, so no big deal. I just had Hammond, by way of DigiKey, produce one for me, and that arrived a couple of weeks ago, and it's a nice piece of iron, an impressive piece of iron, I'll say that. So I'm going to put that in here shortly, but I was looking at the amplifier itself, and I did not realize that Ten-Tech, and I don't know whether it was strictly with the Centurion or any of their amplifiers, did not include an ALC feedback circuit. So there's no ALC connection. I've not operated an amplifier without an ALC connection, and I assume that as long as you monitor the ALC level in your exciter, you should be okay. There shouldn't be any problems with overdriving the amplifier. So therein lies the question. Is that in fact the correct statement? If I were to just, let's say, use that with one of the... And by the way, I don't plan on using this amplifier with any of my solid state stuff. That's really targeted to my Viking Ranger 2, so I can, maybe pump up the juice a bit for AM operation. I don't know, maybe 300 watts or so carrier. But let's talk about SSB or sideband operation. As long as I keep my transmitter ALC indicator within bounds, I assume I'll be fine business with the. And I don't know, I may have timed it. Hang on. May have timed the repeater out, or I timed out my timeout timer. I have not adjusted it on the 857D. This is the rig I bought from Joe. I need to do that. But the question therein is simply, am I correct if I just keep my exciter level, ALC level, within bounds, and I'm driving at the appropriate power level, to drive the amplifier to full output, whatever that might be, 65, 80 watts. Probably not that much, but a little bit less. Do I have nothing to worry about? That's the basic question. And by worry, I mean, am I assuring myself that I won't overdrive that amplifier? That's the query. Chuck, back to you, W3JAM.
Thanks, Jeff. A good and relevant question indeed. So, now's the time to hear from you. What say ye, the crowd? Please call NA3CW. Come. I know some of you guys have worked amplifiers. Talk to Jeff.
Very good. Just getting ready to, trying to forward this email over. This is W3VEE. Very good. Let me just jump in here real quick. My understanding is exactly that also. And what I try to do here is keep the ALC within bounds to be able to make sure I don't overdrive the amplifier. What I do have, though, here is a scope that has a little loop that is just a proximity located loop close to the coax so that I could take a look at what the waveform looks like. If it looks like I'm clipping, then I need to back off on the ALC. Jeff, I don't know if that helps or not, but let me turn it back to Chuck. First, NA3CW, WA3VEE.
Thank you, Ron. Do we have any other input? Crickets on the repeater. I'll give mine then. I've never operated an amplifier with ALC because I would never operate an amplifier without a scope. I just don't. Especially, the main reason I got the amplifier was for AM. And if I was relying on the ALC in the rig, I would blow the rig off. I would blow the amplifier off the table because I only have one 3500Z and it's very easy to drive. So I could badly overdrive the amplifier without even touching the ALC in the rig in the transceiver. The great arbiter is the scope. One of the fallacies of ALC is all loop feedback systems take a finite amount of time to react. So when, say you drive the amplifier hard enough, let's say you're using an ALC feedback from the amplifier, and I have an AL80B and it's got ALC set and all that stuff. I could set it. But say you drive it into overdrive, then it produces a voltage which goes back into the transmitter, into the transceiver, which backs the gain down on the drive signal. Meanwhile, while in those milliseconds that it takes for that to happen, you're splattering. So, to me, I'd rather just go by the scope. And in your case, you depending on how much drive you can get out of your exciter, you may have enough drive to drive the Centurion into clipping, depending on how you have it loaded, and that's important too. Without overdoing the ALC and the transceiver. So, yeah, it's important that you load the amplifier heavy enough to cover the maximum peak of power that you're conceivably going to hit, and if you can get hands on a scope and make a sensor, just wrap a loop around the coax, do something to keep an eye on it. That's the main thing. Then once you get your system adjusted and adjust your ALC and adjust this and that and the other to your scope, then you can more safely operate without one. But in my case, especially on AM, it's one of these things, don't leave home without it. I won't get on the air with an amplifier without a scope. Any other comments for Jeff? Please call NA3CW. Okay, Jeff, have we beat it to death?
Yes, sir. Chuck, thank you. Very good inputs from both you and Ron. And certainly for YAM operation, I was thinking that a scope would almost be mandatory anyway, especially during the what I'll call the rehabilitation of my current Johnson Viking Ranger 2 from craptacular audio to something more akin broadcast quality. I would definitely want to be monitoring improvements to the modulated waveform, and I understand the importance of that, especially too in the context of using an external amplifier with the exciter. So yeah, I was planning for my AM station to definitely have an inline means of modulating or monitoring, aka scope, or maybe something like a Field Fox if I can get my hands on one. Use one of those at Lockheed. Absolutely loved it. But that's it's another topic for another day. But yes, but on sideband, I was just looking to perhaps use it a time or two. I do have an AL811. Yeah, Ameritron AL811 or 80, whatever. Yeah, it's the 3 811s. As opposed to the heavy model, which has 4, closer to 800 watts peak. I run mine considerably less, usually around 400 watts, when I was using it anyway, and I tended to be more of what I'll call an appliance operator, because I knew from on-the-air reports that there was no splattering as long as I kept my
observed ALC characteristics within range, and wasn't driving that AM too hard. E.g., wasn't loading it too heavy. Everything was fine and dandy, and I could be a good old appliance operator. So very good. I appreciate the inputs and kind of emphasize the importance of the scope. Put the scope on it, as they say, and I definitely will. Thank you all. Back to you, Chuck, and I will be in listen mode. I will offer dumb looks for free and any answers to any questions if possible, but I am trying to out in the lights and get back into the air conditioning because it is sweltering out here. W3JAM.
Thanks, Jeff. And by the way, you're more likely to splatter if you underload the amplifier. If you don't have high enough loading, you'll run out of voltage before you run out of current. And that clipping of the plate voltage waveform will cause splatter. So, thank you for all that. And moving on to Tim, KD3AIS, what is your question, sir?
Thank you, Chuck. NA3CW, this is KD3AIS, Tim in Malvern. My question is with regard to transformers on power poles and the potential for them to cause noise on HF. Looking around at power poles, I know what a traditional transformer looks like, but not every house has a transformer. Some of them have smaller things that seem to be functioning to step down the power to the house, but are not transformers and are not green boxes that are mentioned when I Google this online. To make this a radio question, my question is it better to live away from a transformer or away from these other units that step down the power with regard to noise on HF? Does it matter?
Thanks, Tim. Interesting question. Who wants to be first and respond to Tim? Please call NA3CW.
WA3VEE.
Fox Tango.
Very good. Ron first, and then over to John. WA3VEE and A3CW.
Very good, and with the indulgence of the fine net control operator, I will turn it directly over to John. Very good. A couple things you mentioned there, Tim. I just wanted to do a minor course correction on two statements you made. First of all, I know of no house in existence that runs on the primary power, which would be something like 2,000 or 7,000 or 4160 or something like that. So those are the wires that you see on the what's called the cross arm on the on the tops of poles. That's generally a very, very high voltage, and the reason it's high voltage is because it takes a lot less current and it feeds an awful lot of transformers. So that's one thing right there. The next thing is that yes, sooner or later, every load, house, business, street lighting, whatever, has got to have some kind of means to have the voltage step down from that high voltage I mentioned down to a working voltage of 240, 120, etc. That requires a transformer. So transformers are the thing that does the stepping down. They also work in the other direction, but that's not the topic here. Or they keep the voltage the same. That's another topic for another night. But in this case, everything does have a step-down transformer to get from the higher voltage to 240 or 120. So these other devices that you're showing here, and by the way, I sent this email to everyone that I had an email for here on the workbench on this net standby. So fortunately for me, I have the luxury of having this right in front of me here on the shack computer. So what you're showing here, what Tim is showing, for those of you who cannot display this, he's showing two photographs, and one is a picture. The first one is a picture of a cross arm on a utility pole. It's not a telephone pole, utility pole, and it shows a fuse. And what that fuse looks like is first of all, there's a connection to a wire, and that's called a bug. And that bug takes the high voltage, feeds it through a fuse. And for those of you, when you do get a chance, if you're not looking at it now, at this photograph, you'll see like a flanged, like a Y-type looking arrangement. That's where the blades actually go for this white cylindrical thing that's vertical in the photograph across this insulator. That's the actual fuse. The high voltage comes off of that and then goes to a feed that goes underground. There's no transformer in that. That just is taking the high voltage and feeding it underground. That's what we have in our neighborhood, and that feeds a whole bunch of transformers up and down my street here, which are on the ground. Those are those green boxes. So that's high voltage that's being fed directly underground. The next photograph does show what's called a distribution transformer. And in slang, we call those pole pigs. And that takes the high voltage and definitely steps it down to the voltage that we use in our homes. What you're seeing here is you're seeing a fuse and a connection, a high voltage connection from the primary wire, what the utility company calls primary. And that goes to a fuse, and then it goes through a insulator on the transformer. Coming out of the transformer, you see three rather thick black wires. That is 240 across two of those wires and neutral in the middle. And that is what's feeding your house. Now, yes, interference can certainly come from a partial breakdown anywhere in the system, primarily of insulators. And what you're hearing is what's called corona that is radiating RF. And anytime you have this situation, I'll try to wrap this up, anytime you have that situation, you basically have the same technology that Marconi used to do transmissions in the very early part of the century of 1900. That was spark gap. So yes, these things, when they start to get old, they start to break down, they start to partially short intermittently, and that's what causes the corona. That radiates the spark, and that's what gets into your radio. I hope that's not too much. John, what did I not say correct? WA3KFT, WA3VEE.
WA3VEE, WA3KFT. Well, since we just had no power for over 3 days here, I have been spending time out at the curb talking to the power guys. In my case, what happened was a tree limb came down on the high line and blew some fuses, but the tree was still too big and it didn't burn off. So we spent 3 days with no electricity until finally yesterday the crew was out here, and the first thing they did was they pulled a fuse on the pole hog. That's the transformer, the round transformer hanging on a pole hog. And they immediately said, "Hey, we can't do anything. We got tree limbs on the wire. Go call the tree surgeon." So some 5 hours later, the tree surgeon shows up and climbs the tree and trims his way up the tree and clears everything out. And then they pulled the fuse on purpose of the high line out at the street. I'll say the highway. We're in a residential area, but it's fed from a highway. So they pulled that. That killed everybody. And after the tree surgeon got done and what have you, they put the fuse back at the highway. Then they came back to our backyard and put the fuse back in. And the transformer was good. So they didn't have to replace that. Transformers usually don't go bad. They're in service for 30 or 40 years. They do get changed, and the reason they change them because of age and because they're not big enough. So they'll put a larger transformer in. The high line on the cross arm typically is in the world at 2,000 volts. So the transformer takes that 2,000 volts, 2,000 volts to ground, and the transformer is a center tap winding, and the end to end is your 230 volts, and the center to one end to center to either end is the 115, 120, and that's the voltage that goes into your house. Pole hogs normally don't die. Something else happens. If the power line got struck by lightning or something like that, it might damage a pole hog. But otherwise, they survive well. They'll change them because there's a failure. They change them because the load neighborhood has gotten too big for the transformer on the pole. So they'll take the transformer off and put a bigger one on. Mechanically, you may not see a difference in size. And I don't have a feeling for the kVA rating of the transformer. But being close to the transformer probably is a good thing because you don't have the voltage drop of the line running through the neighborhood. You're going to be relatively close, so your voltage, if anything, will be a little bit on the high side. You're not going to have the IR drop of the wire going through the rest of the neighborhood and picking up another 10 customers. And in terms of noise and so forth, electrical noise, because you're close to the transformer, you're not likely to get it. If you're further away from the transformer, you may get more electrical noise caused by other customers using noisy things in their house. So my recommendation is look for a place where a pole hog is, or in some cases, in some of the new developments, the green box sitting on the ground, because they're now putting a lot of stuff in underground. This is WA3KFT. Back to net.
Thank you, John. Do we have any other comments?
KC3SQI.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, as stated by Ron and John, the transformer most often is not the problem. The problem more commonly are the insulators on the poles or on the transformer, because what will happen is as they get dirty, as they get cracked, or with expansion, contraction, there'll be a gap start to form between the ceramic and the metal, and it will, as Ron said, start arcing. And so usually it's an insulator or a stack insulator that's going to give you more problems than the transformer itself. And like John said, the further away from the transformer you get, the higher the impedance and the more noise that your neighbors can send down your house. So, hope that helps a little. And back to you, KC3SQI.
Thank you, Wayne. Any other comments? This is NA3CW. I'll toss in mine. Lightning arresters, which are kind of ribby things that I think are usually vertical. One end is grounded, one end goes to the wires. It's like a long insulator. They can go bad and make tremendous amounts of noise. And Joe can tell stories about lightning arresters. Loose hardware of any kind can cause arcing. Sometimes if you have, the arcing and then it rains and the arcing stops, that usually is an indication of loose hardware because the rain kind of makes up the connection. When transformers let go, it's usually spectacular. I had one do that right behind me. I was walking on the college campus and I heard this boom, and the skies lit up, and about 3 seconds later, the top of that can came down with a clang, missed me, and the oil was on fire in the transformer. So usually that is rare, but when it happens, it's usually spectacular. So it's more mundane stuff: loose hardware, noisy lightning arresters, dirty insulators. I've seen in seaside environments where they're actually glowing, and you talk about noise. So do we beat that one to death? And back to you, Tim. KD3AIS, NA3CW.
KD3AIS, thank you, everyone, for your learned opinions. I really didn't even know the full breadth of the question I was asking. But my takeaway is I look out my window at a pole hog, I guess, or a transformer, and I, previous to this call, thought that was a bad place to be. It's not necessarily bad or worse, but I actually may be better off on a relative basis because I'm not 10 houses down the line with people using noisy things in between me and my power, if I understand correctly. So no need to beat it any more to death, but thank you, and back to Chuck, NA3CW. This is KD3AIS.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for your question. And yes, I've often said some of the simplest sounding questions are the hardest ones to answer. So that's why I like newbie questions, because they can bring in lots of material. So over to Bob in Pottstown. You still with us? WA2JTS, NA3CW.
NA3CW, WA2JTS, real fine. Yep, I'm still here. Okay, well, as I commented, there's not too much more I can add to what I had said initially when I came in. But have an AL80, and we have not been on the air with that box, I'll say, for a good 5 years. And we moved from East Fallowfield, right around the corner from Joe. We moved from there to New Holland and was in New Holland for 2 years, and now we're here in Pottstown, and it'll be 3 years in October. And this is the first time since having lived in East Fallowfield that the AL80 has been turned on. So immediately I noticed upon trying to get things set up and working that when I turned it on, I knew I hadn't turned anything on in terms of high voltage yet. I noticed the plate current meter was just sitting at 50 milliamps, and I thought, well, that's kind of strange. I haven't pushed the talk button yet. So I just left it there for a bit and noticed it would do some movement, and then I just remained having it sit there hadn't put any RF to it yet, and all of a sudden, when I turned back one time and looked at the meter, the needle was down at 0. Oh, okay, that's interesting. And then after a little while, it crept up a tiny bit, maybe double the width of the needle. It crept up, and so then I thought, well, okay, let's try and do a very minor load on this thing. And I put some RF to it, way down about 10 watts, I think it was, 10, 15 watts. And things worked, you know. I could tune up, and at that point, the plate current meter would go up like it's supposed to, and power out would go up like it's supposed to, and proceeded to tune it up, get it properly loaded, and it was fine. So I thought, okay, well, let's turn it off a minute and see what it does. And when I turned it off, the needle went back down to 50 mils and stayed there. So decided to get a little braver and took it up to 400 watts. Again, the plate current meter is operating properly. It's moving up and down, and so then I spoke into the mic finally, and you know, it got movement out of it, and everything worked like it's supposed to. Turned it off for a while, came back, found a station on 40 meters. It was a small QSO going on. I broke into that, and everybody, I told them what was going on, and they gave me all good reports. Nothing sounded strange, or my signal was staying steady, you know, wasn't going up and down and doing squirrely things. I'm sure right now if I went over and threw the switch that it probably would go up to 50 mils. And not that I think that it's, but maybe it is, but I don't know whether some kind of current that's making it go up to 50 mils or what. But that's my question. So back to you, Chuck, NA3CW, WA2JTS.
Thank you, Bob. Good report there. So, do we have any responses for Bob? Please call NA3CW. Okay. Go ahead, John.
Question for Bob. The AL80, that uses a 3-500, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Single tube. Yeah, I got one sitting on my dining room table. I haven't put it on the air, so I don't have any experience using one. In some amplifiers, when they're in the standby mode, so you're not transmitting through it, but it's warmed up and ready to transmit, they can draw a little bit of plate current because you have some biasing as part of it. You know, some circuits are zero bias, but I'd have to look at the schematic to see exactly where that plate current meter is and to see if the only thing after the plate current meter is the plate. Because it could be seeing a little bit of leakage current or something like that. The plate current meter is going to be after the power supply, so if you had a leaky capacitor, it would not affect the plate current meter. So the plate current meter is going to be, I will say, one terminal directly connected to the plate of the tube. So there's nothing in between. And unless the tube is leaky or something like that in the standby mode, you should have very little or zero plate current. WA3KFT.
Thanks, John. Anyone else have a comment? Okay, I'll put in my 2 cents. I have an AL80B and I use it every week. The A, the B, and the C are all very different amplifiers. More between the, well, there is no AL80A. There's the 80, 80A, and 80B. I'll get it right. The biggest difference is between the 80 and the 80A. The 80A is really a redesign. And the 80A to the B is a number of upgrades, but essentially the same design. I got uncomfortably familiar with the A that belonged to Corbin when it was brought to me in a blown-up state, and make a long story short, I fixed it. The high voltage comes on as soon as you turn on the amplifier. When you turn it on, you hear this bump, and that's the high voltage power supply charging up. So the high voltage is always there. So it's just a matter of whether the tube is biased on in its resting position, biased on, or and also if it's driven. There are relays. There is again, I don't know the original very well, but there is a relay or two inside, and I think it's salient that this, and confirm with me, Bob, this amplifier sat for a long time not being used. Go ahead.
Yes, that's correct. It was in my house, but no, it hadn't been used for a good 5 years. Yeah, so no power had been applied to it at all.
Okay. What I would advise at this point is use the thing. If you've got slightly tarnished relays inside, use will take care of that most likely. Also, if the tube is at least a bit gassy, that can lead to current flowing when you don't want it to be. And the way that you degas a 3-500Z is by making the plate, the outer part of the tube, glow, which means you have to use it and use it pretty hard and make it glow. And there's a chemical coating on the plate called a getter, G-E-T-T-E-R, getter, because it captures and chemically holds gas molecules that run into it. But it only activates if the tube is hot. There are smaller tubes have different kind of getters, but the 3-500Z, the getter action is the plate glows red, and it will absorb gases. That's what it's designed to do. So I would advise use the thing. Excuse me. Use the thing, drive it up into power, and I think you may find that the squirreliness will go away, but that's just a guess. Back to you, Bob, NE3CW.
NE3CW, WA2JTS. Okay, real fine, Chuck. Yeah, because I have, sitting right next to it, I have an AL82, right next to the 80A. And, it doesn't do any of this silliness at all. But it was, like I said, I've been here now for 3 years, well, 3 years in October, and took a while getting the house squared away, and finally got around to being able to get my radio equipment back together again. So that's associated with an FT101EE, and an old Johnson Viking matchbox. So I have three separate stations here, sort of, and I can switch between them using various box that I have. And so that was the last station set up to get fired up. And wouldn't you know? Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's going to be too big of a problem. And like you say, just using it could possibly resolve the situation. So, okay, well, we'll say thank you very much, and I appreciate the input and for the other inputs that I got, and appreciate it. And we'll hope it goes away. Don't want to have to buy another tube. NA3CW, W3GMS.
Very good, Bob, and thank you for your question, and thank you for coming to the Workbench. Do we have any other check-ins, or did any questions arise in all these exchanges? Please call NA3CW. Okay, silence was heard. So thanks to all stations for checking into the 985 Workbench. A big thank you to Joe, W3GMS, for making the 985 repeater available and maintained for the Workbench, and you are invited to use the repeater often. Joe really likes that. This is a great way to show that you appreciate the gift of 985 to the amateur radio community. So finally, we hope to hear you again Thursday night at 8 p.m. with our redoubtable host, Bill, KC3OOK, for the roundtable. And this concludes the Workbench for tonight. Feel free to stick around and keep 985 hot. Have a good night, a great weekend, field day, and this is NA3CW clear.
NA3CW, W3JAM. Are you still there, Chuck?
I am, just sipping some tea.
Where is Field Day this year? Or is it in the area down near Joe there, or is it up here in this area? Where is it going to be?
It's near Ludwig's Corner, which is the intersection of Route 100 and 401.
No, well, I come down 100 quite a bit from here. So, okay. Is it around that firehouse? No, is there a firehouse there? I forget. It's been a while since I've been down there. Is there a field associated or nearby there?
Excuse me. There is a storage facility there called Lines, L-I-N-E-S, Lines Self-Storage. It's right next to the Jeep shop. And you go in the driveway and up the hill, keep going uphill and turning right till you get to the top where you have to make a left. And that's where it's going to be. It's up that hill in the trees. You can't see it from the road. But you can see the Jeep shop, and there's a sign there for Lines Self-Storage.
Okay, I think I know what you mean now. Okay, real fine. All right, thanks a lot, Chuck. We'll say 73s and appreciate the help. NA3CW, W3JAM clear.
Good night, NA3CW clear.
NA3CW, KC3OOK.
A glutton for punishment, sitting there in the heat.
Just dedicated to 985, hi. Now, I actually am good with it. The humidity isn't bad yet. If this was 80% humidity, I'd be looking like this cat over next to me. And Bob, if you're still listening, there's a veterinarian's office directly across from the entrance on 100. I just want to let you know, Chuck, we did not have to do one thing today. The bolt holes for those coax guides are aligned the right way. So I may not have had it right originally, but they are now. So I just want to let you know that. That's one thing we the list. NA3CW KC3OOK.
Good. Very good. That's a good one. Make that punch list get smaller. But yeah, thanks for doing that and enduring it. I spent most of the day fussing with a computer for our church. I got it straightened out. It's an old Dell all-in-one that we've been using in conjunction with our PA system, a digital mixer. And the control software that was in it suddenly refused to run. And so I cleaned it out and rebooted the machine and reinstalled it, and it would still refuse to run. It would light up for about 1 second and then blink off. You start it again, it would light up for about 1 second and blink off. And this seems to correspond with a Microsoft update because it was running Windows 10. And given that it was running Windows 10 and Windows 10 is going unsupported in, I think it's September or October, whatever. I was always going to convert that machine to Linux anyway. So today was the day I converted it to Linux. And I got it all straightened out. Everything loads and runs and everything's hunky-dory. But that was most of my morning. And then had to do a little shopping. We went out to pick up a slice of pizza and pick up some stuff at Walmart. And that was my glorious morning. Fiddling with bits and bytes. Back to you, NA3CW.
3CW KC3OOK. Well, today was a perfect day to be inside working on a computer. That's great. You got it worked out. And yeah, as we've talked before, I really am looking forward to getting Linux in my life because I'm just getting tired of Google and Microsoft controlling my life. And it's really frustrating on the nets because there's so many little dialogues and, get subscribe to this, play this game. It pops up while you're using your computer. So anyhow, enough said. But that's good. Well, thanks for taking the net tonight. We had a good group here for a hot evening. But good questions. Always learn a lot on here. So I'll let you go. I didn't want to keep you, but I just wanted to let you know that one bit of good news. So NA3CW KC3OOK.
Thanks for doing that, and congrats on getting that accomplished. And I understand that you got the bolts done too, the Loctite bolts. So that's a couple of things off the list. So hoorah! Very, very good. And yeah, do you have any Windows 11 machines at the moment?
I do. My new computer is Windows 11, and that's what's giving me all the problem. And I have an old, inexpensive one that I just use for Vera FM and the Signal Link, and that's on 10. And I haven't even had that connected to the internet for 6 months. I'm afraid to do it. But yeah, I have one Windows 11 machine. I figured when I got it, I'd just bite the bullet because I knew it was around the corner anyway. So, yes.
I'm going to say, if you liked Windows 10, you'll love Windows 11. It is so it's like a I don't know, like a chihuahua that's always biting your ankles. It's just that program just makes me nuts. I can't do without Windows for some of the software that I have, but doesn't mean I have to let it online. So what I'm going to do, I think I've said before, I'm going to stick with Windows 10, except I'll just isolate it from the internet. And because none of the software that I use it with needs to be connected or updated, it works fine. So I only have one pure Windows 10 machine. It's the laptop I have here at the ham station. They call it a portable workstation. It's a heavy, lumpy thing. It's a really heavy computer. Old but good. And what I plan to do on that is convert it to Linux and then put Windows 10 as a virtual machine on it. for when I'm, for the occasions where I need to run a Windows 10. The rest of the time, it's going to go Linux. So that's going to be my solution. So, 7-3, have a good night and go drink something cool. KC3OOK, NA3CW.
Sounds good, Chuck. Well, just acclimating to it. It'll get easier as we go. And yeah, I've got multiple cups of iced tea made in the refrigerator, so I'm good. Well, have a good night again. Thanks for taking the round table. It's always interesting. So, NA3CW 73 KC3OOK.
7-3, Bill, always a pleasure. NA3CW QRT.
KC3OOK W3JAM.
W3JAM KC3OOK. Hey, Jeff.
Bill, I wanted to ask you, do you know what the problem might be with your 510? Heard you report that you actually had a double failure. The thing we kind of downplayed statistically, 2-point failures. Single-point failure we always dealt with in reliability, but not 2 points of failure. At least they were considered relatively low probability of occurrence. Sounds like you had the diplexer and the 510 both crap out. Do you have any idea what the problem is with the 510?
Exactly, not exactly, but I have some data that makes it look a little abnormal. And I'll tell you, there was a clue there. I've been messing with this for a while, Jeff, and I actually, I checked everything from the coax to the barrels to the connectors, and I just didn't check one. I replaced each one, then I replaced it with another barrel, multiples, because, I had 2 barrels could be bad. Went all through it. There was a clue I missed. One time when I was trying it, I took it out off of the triplexer and connected directly to the 2-meter port, and the radio still folded back, but it folded back slightly less. And I noticed it, and I went, well, why would that be? I've got, I've got more path, I got more things in the path. Why would it go on direct be slightly not as bad as the other? And I didn't pick up on it. So yeah, it turns out that the triplexer. When I'm on the Diamond 510, well, I'll put it this way. When I'm on the beam, this is how I figured it out on Saturday afternoon. When I'm on the beam with the 9700 going through the triplexer at 100 watts, it bolts it back to 50. So I took the triplexer out, put the coax right into the beam, and I was getting a full 100 watts out. So I carried it back over the Diamond, and I found that when I'm on the Diamond through the triplexer, it was folding back, 100 was 50, and when I went directly into the radio, 100 was 75. So the only thing I can think, break there, is I know that at least once by accident, I might have gone from a Saturday night on Simplex net over to FT8 and been running 100 watts of digital. In theory, that shouldn't hurt that antenna. I know it's good for 160 watts, but I don't know. I just don't know, or maybe the combination of the triplexer affected it. But one thing I'll tell you, Jeff, was when I put my antenna analyzer on it, the antenna is resonant down around 144. When I get up to 146.0, which should be the center of that antenna, I'm up to about an S5. I go up to 147, and it goes off the chart. So, long explanation. Back to you, Jeff. W3JAM, KC3OOK.
Yeah, okay, Bill. Very good. Well, it sounds like the antenna somehow got detuned. And, when I first put my 510 together, I was getting all kinds of wonky SWR readings on it, and I took it down and reassembled it, and I don't know if I didn't have something physically tightened properly or what, but I actually recall it was a bit of a pain to put together, and I redid it, and everything was fine after that, and it's been fine since. talking about the one on Studio B, haven't noticed any issues. Nothing seems to be folding back. But, I guess power-wise, the antenna should handle it. I know the digital modes are more of a continuous duty. I mean, I suppose it's possible that might have messed up your triplexer. I've never used a plexer with my 9700. I always had separate feeds for VHF and UHF. I didn't have anything on 1296. I did buy a triplexer. I did buy a diamond. It's either a diamond or a comet, so that I could actually have all three bands connected simultaneously via one feed. And when I rebuild my station, I'll probably use it, unless, of course, I get weird performance results, in which case I'll promptly discard it. But the other thing is there could be, the thing that always worries me with the fiberglass antennas is water penetration. If you get a crack in that fiberglass radome, or maybe something's not sealed quite right. I mean, I told you I always use like the RTV 102 to seal the joints, just so I don't get any water penetration. But wondering maybe if you've got some water penetration that compromised your antenna. This is only one way to find out. Take it down, look at it, see what happened, visually inspect it, see if there's any water in there or whatnot. But I'm glad you've. I'm glad you figured that out, because I did hear you mentioning you were having some issues, and I'll tell you, I did hear you quite well when you were on the beam. Normally out in Studio B, I don't hear you. I don't have the Yagi here now. With the omnidirectional antenna, I don't hear you typically. But when you move that to the northeast, I heard you very well. And I believe I was even hearing you. I think I heard you say you were rotating it to the east, and I could still hear you. So that antenna works quite well. Throws the RF up here well enough to be heard on my 510 at 27 feet. KC3OOK, W3JAM.
W3JAM, KC3OOK. Yeah, I was real happy with how it worked, and it was interesting study. We can talk about it another time and do some comparisons when you get yours going. But yeah, I have very good copy on you. I was really worried it was the radio, so I just feel so relieved that it's not. Unfortunately, you know what's involved to tilt this thing over. So I guess I'm going to have to arrange some time to get a bunch of pizzas and some donuts and see if we can get a few people out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. I really think that's it. And as far as the sealing it up, I know what you mean about putting them together. Unfortunately, I have this long table in the shop, and you have a coupling with a screw connector that you have to screw in for each one, but it's attached to a very fragile wire. I actually made a wood block, a jig, so I could set it under, keep everything in line, and then really grab it and tighten the screws. And on the joints, I did the same thing. I really tightened those O-rings. I know those spanners were tight, and then I used coax wrap and then taped and sealed each of those joints in the antenna. So this may have, I don't know. The only other thing could be is when we put it up, maybe that the only thing that was changed was the base of the antenna. But I don't know if it would make the frequency so far off. I think that would affect power, but I just don't. I think the frequency response would stay the same. But yeah, it's figured out anyway. W3JAM, KC3OOK.
Yeah, okay, Bill. Yeah, I won't keep you. I retreated to Studio A. I just took a shower. I was soaked, and when I got back to the chief engineer, but I feel so much better. I know what it's like to be operating out in the warmth. But anyway, yeah, that thing is detuned somehow, and I don't know. I suppose the only way to really diagnose it is to, yes, I know, that's a bit of a project, to get that thing down. I mean, I remember looking at it when it was down, visually inspecting it, and it looked like it was in perfect condition, at least from what I saw. Did give it the fairly good once-over. I recall, I think I departed shortly after that with Joe and young Luke for a donut run, as I recall. And I missed the raising of the antenna, but I was definitely there for the lowering. And your antenna looked like it was in good shape. But yeah, I haven't noticed anything like that going on with mine yet. Not to say that it won't. I actually just bought another one of those. I have two of them now. I haven't assembled it yet, and I'm debating when I put Studio A back on the air. I was planning to put another 510 up and have one on Studio A. It would actually be at 40 feet. It'd be a good 13 feet higher than the present one, which starts to make a lot of difference. It would be roughly as high as my Yagi. Well, be higher. The top of the antenna would be way higher than where the Yagi was. So that should help out quite a bit with some of the more marginal contacts. But I haven't put it together yet, just because I remember it was kind of a pain in the neck putting the thing together. And every time I think about doing it, I either have something else to do, or frankly, I haven't been feeling well enough to even worry about it lately. So trying to get over this cold I had. Well, anyway, I just wanted to touch base and figure out what was going on with your setup there. And my 9700 is QRT at the moment. I've been strictly operating with the 857D or my Yaesu 3185, which I really like a lot. That's the 2-meter Simplex, 2-meter rig with 85 watts in the digital audio signal processing. It has essentially a receive preamp in there with some audio signal processing to help with the weak ones. So lots of time on Simplex net. I'll flip that on, and it'll do its razzmatazz, and I can really pull the weak ones out. Sometimes I prefer not to turn on the audio signal processing and just turn on the preamp, but there's no option for that in the 3185. You get one, and if you have the audio signal processing installed, you get that as well. I think the more expensive version of that rig, the dual bander, actually has the option to turn off the ASP, independent control of each of those functions, and that would be desirable, but oh well. All right, I'll let you go, Bill, and glad to hear your problem has been diagnosed, and we'll see what it takes to get that fixed. But glad the rig, it's not the rig, I agree with you. KC3OOK 73 from W3JAM.
Great night, Jeff, and stay cool, and hopefully those horses are cool out there tonight. So, 73, KC3OOK.
KC3OOK. This is KC3EMS.
KC3OOK. Was there another station there?
Hey, Bill, this is Kilo Delta 3 Echo Mike Sierra.
Oh, KC3GMS. Hey, I believe it's Chris, correct?
Yes, sir, you got it. I was on a Saturday night net, and I believe you're running a beam antenna, is that correct?
I was on Saturday night because, as you might have heard talking there, the Diamond Omni is not working right now, and I did hear you. I can remember. I write down everything I hear, so I did hear you there.
Okay. Yeah, I checked in with East because I was up in Shady Maple. So I was actually in his backyard. I think I was blowing him away with a 5.9, being about 4 miles away. But no, I wanted to tell you, I actually heard you twice. I heard you for the first round and the second round. I did not hear you for the third round.
Okay, I'm trying to think which way I went on the third round. I went west. I went due west, or northwest. I picked up those guys in Caledonia State Park.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised. I mean, I wasn't sure exactly. I know you had mentioned what direction you were going to head towards. But yeah, I mean up around East Earl there, it is the elevation. I'm not sure exact elevation, but it is up pretty high there. So it's pretty easy to get out from up there. But yeah, just want you to know I did hear you on the beam. Like I said, first two check-ins.
That's great. That's great. I appreciate getting the signal report. I always do. As I said, the first time I did it with the beam on the net, it's not ideal. In the future, the plan is to receive on the do the announcements on the Omni and take the check-ins on the Omni and then respond on the beam because I've got pretty much bearings for everybody that checks in. So just spin it around. That's kind of the plan, playing around. But good to hear you, Chris. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, that location up there in East Earl, that is up there.
All right, Bill. I'm going to go 73 here. So yeah, we'll talk soon. So KC3OOK, KC3EMS.
Sounds good, Chris. Stay cool tomorrow. KD3EMS, KC3OOK, 73, and I'm clear.